Are we live? We're live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Twist Gaming, where you get to play board games with us. This is our honest review section of our Spotlight stream, where we talked about the ins and outs of what we liked and what necessarily wasn't our favorite parts of the game that we just played. In this case, it is Champions of Hara by Greenbrier Games, which we just did the Spotlight of. If you didn't get a chance to see it, or you're watching on VOD, go check out the Spotlight. We did really well, considering that Walter was a little concerned for our well-being in terms of the game. It's definitely
a little concerned. Well, we jumped in without the training wheels.
We did.
So.
We grabbed on and we ran with it, right?
Exactly. But first, who are we? I'm Matt.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Aaron.
And we also joined with the disembodied voice of TP. Say hi.
Hello.
All right. So first things first, we talk about what we liked about the game.
Winner goes first.
Winner goes first.
It was all of us.
It was co-op. But since
Matt's going to say he was the winner because he dealt the killing blow.
Sure. I'll do
I know that's a...
Before I start, though,
yes.
I need to point out that this stream and all of this week's streams are sponsored by Champions of Hara by Greenbrier Games, as well as Legend of Korra Pro Bending Arena by IDW. So first off, what did I like about this game? I am a huge fan of games that have independent character abilities, unique character abilities, and this kind of took it to another level, where it's not just the characters behave similarly or 90% the same and have one unique ability.
Skill.
They're completely different.
Yeah.
Like I have runes, and that's like a max of 3 of my ability of what I'm getting to use. So that's my 3, and then my little character here. So I was the only human. That's his. Josh, you were the creepy little ghost girl.
Yeah.
Or demon
Who
girl,
was scared or really scared, or both.
And you dealt with fear, and your fear ability goes all the way up to 9, but then it also gives you some modifiers in terms of being terrified and scared.
Yeah.
And that affects some of the way your cards are used. And then Aaron, you were the stone bear.
Geomancer.
Geomancer. There you go. That sounds fancy. And so you had the grit ability. And that was 5 down to 0. And then the cool thing was that you could actually go beyond that by burning your own health.
Right.
Which I don't think you ever had to do that.
It was close a few times, but I don't think you ever got to it.
Having that a possible ability, I'm sure, is really nice. It kind of lets you be a little more willy-nilly with it if you want.
Yeah, and we know we didn't get to a point where we were super pressed for time. So I think if we got to rounds 5 and 6, then I would have wanted to be a little bit more reckless.
Yeah.
Did you get all 3 of your extra cards?
Yes.
Okay, because I figured that's when you would start using more grit, was when you had...
Because a lot of them used... yes, because I mean I have options like where with this landslide card where I can spend up to 3 grit to move that many spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 is more than you can move on almost any of the other abilities.
Right.
So...
and again, also, that's just the 3 of the characters that we played with. There's other characters, even more unique looking stuff.
6 characters in the base game, plus another 4 characters in the expansion.
So Walter brushed on this one briefly, but there's this character here, Soph, and she deals with mana, but then using her mana also increases her heat. And I don't know the exact details of how that works, but
she's glass cannon.
Glass cannon, risk reward, low health. Then this one's a really cool one. I was looking at playing with this before. Stance has the...
His name is...
Stance.
Orc.
Orc. I'm sorry. The card says
his
Stance.
ability is Stance.
Yeah, thank you. So you choose which stance you're in at the beginning of each turn, and that kind of gives you...
every turn.
You have to change it.
Right. I think that's the coolest thing, is that it gives you a benefit and a drawback with each stance, but it's up to you to kind of use that to the best of your abilities, but then you have to change it around. So you can't just be like, you can't park your ass on one of them and be like, I really love this one ability, I'm just going to use it all game long. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. And then there's Leaf.
And Leaf is the momentum, which Walter said is the, it's got a really easy entry point into how you use it. But
the more you move around, you get more momentum points to use to do special things.
Right.
Was what he was saying.
And I just, that really is what spoke to me the most about this game, is I really like unique player abilities. And this kind of took it turned the dial to 11.
Did you like the person you were playing with?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay.
The rune ability is simple, but there's only 3 points of it, and it was really hard for me to gain it back.
Yeah.
So I had to really kind of manage it well, and his abilities that used it are really strong.
Yeah, you started out really strong out the gate.
Yeah. So how about you, Josh? What's something that you really loved about this game?
I had a lot of fun with my character too. The whole fear thing was kind of cool, and managing that, like I managed to get myself to a spot where I was like at max like fear. I was like teetering right around terrified.
So your fear increased whenever you took damage.
Yes.
So you kind of wanted to get hit to an extent.
At the beginning, and then once I was like, all right, I have a lot of fear, I'm good. And then I could spend fear to power up attacks and stuff. So at the end, I had a combination that made me do 6 damage with 1 attack.
And that's a lot. That's a lot in this game.
That's a lot, and that was 1 attack. That wasn't.
Yeah.
I could do 6 damage a turn. It was I could do 6 damage in 1 attack.
Yeah.
So she got very powerful. There was also a cool card in there that actually let me do a burst attack. So I could have done like 5 damage range 3 or something like that, like to everything range 3, and like just blown up the board. So there's some cool things in that. And there's a lot of cool item cards and stuff, which is the interesting thing is you don't randomly get an item. They're all themed to
what drops them.
What drops.
And yeah, they're all numbered, so you kind of keep it in order. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And the numbers are neat just because it allows you to find them a lot easier than pick up item XYZ. And then
I could see once we start playing, we're like, oh, that guy gives a really good item. Let's go beat him up.
Yeah.
So right now we're like, oh, let's beat this up. Oh, I got this awesome item. And it might be like, oh, that guy gives like an item. We can like leave him on the board and go do something else.
Well, also, I'm sure knowing the monsters that you can summon by choosing to summon the big baddest monster in the game onto your current spot because you're bored.
I would have killed him eventually.
Sure.
The other thing I love about this game is the art.
The art is absolutely gorgeous.
These 2 guys are just completely adorable.
It's neat because it kind of ranges the gambit. So you've got these 2 guys that I'm going to show off here. These are ones Josh pointed out. So Bick the Flame Thief. He's like this little adorable fire monster. There's the Blue Riftling, who's this cute little rift monster. Herald of the Stag. This reminds me of something straight out of Ren and Stimpy. I just had to get that out of my head. But it's absolutely ridiculous, and we all giggled like children when this first came out in the game. So you got this cute and cuddly art, and then you've got the actual big scary baddies like the Molten Mantis. So like a firebug. Then you have the Forgotten Guardian, which is just this looming otherworldly beast. You've also got some more art with like Asian influences, kind of like the Leviathan of Huracan, and there was another one on the board, the Alpaca of Doom, wherever that guy went. I killed him. Oh, hold on. Here's the big baddie that Josh took out. Drugon the Cursed.
You took him out. I summoned him.
The one that, Josh summoned. Going back to the Asian influences, the Jiroujin's Heart. So I kind of like that each one of the worlds had monsters that were a little bit more thematic to the area.
Yeah, and if you look at the board, I don't know when the board came out, it's a little hard to see the board because it's very dark.
Yeah. But each one of the hex tiles
has its own kind of theme to it. So there was the Wastelands, which was the desert.
Right.
What used to be an ocean.
Oakenmoor is the like corrupted forest.
So in the story,
the bayou was
the bayou
swamps.
and the Oakenmoor were one giant forest.
Oh, really?
And then they got split, and that's what Leaf's goal is to reunite. When he was born, they were split.
Oh.
So he's been trying to reunite these 2 forests, and that's his motivation in the game, which is really cool.
That it's not just here's a character in this world, but he's actually got a reason.
Yeah,
for it.
All the characters have some really cool backstories. Walter was saying all the characters are losers from their perspective world. Yeah. And they came here actually at power now and are not losers anymore. Right. But no, the art was awesome. I'm a fan of co-op games. Mm-hmm. So this was really fun. And this brought a lot of different mechanics of co-op into one. So this was kind of pandemic, Forbidden Island, kind of stuff's sinking, stuff's going down. We need to go get everything off the map because...
But we're also doing our own things as well.
We're doing our own things, and there's also this big baddie that we have to kill.
Yeah.
So and that was also kind of the scenario we were playing, but there was a lot of things to manage resources on, and you couldn't just manage one, because if you managed one, the other things would go out of control and destroy you.
None of us just sat there and beat up the baddie the entire time, and then none of us just sat around and closed rifts the entire time.
Yeah.
And we spread the love.
Yeah.
So how about you, Aaron? What's some of the stuff that you liked about this game?
I love the different abilities and the fact that they have two different usage bases based off of whether they're in your hand or whether they're on the table.
So let me show off one of my cards here. I'll try to find the good ones if I can find where I put it.
So not only did, as I leveled up, did I get a chance to pick and add new cards to my hand, which I wish I could have added both of the cards from each color to my hand.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because I had a hard time picking between some of them.
So, for example, my blue card here, Beam Saber, when you play it from your hand, it deals 2 damage, range 0. And then if I spend a rune, it prevents the next damage that would be dealt to me. So it kind of encourages me to go more into the line of fire, because I can protect myself. Yeah. But then, the next turn I would play that from the table, its ability is it's 2 damage as well, but then I could spend a rune to deal 3 additional damage. So at first it's very thematic with the saber. At first, you're like parrying the blow as you move in, and then you're going in for the full strike and beating the crap out of someone with it. So, how about one of yours?
I thought this one was. This one is one that I didn't choose, but I thought it was super interesting, and could have been very, depending on the scenario, because it let me. So we had the world shift where we switched stuff around.
Right.
It let me create that.
So world slide, change the orientation of the world you're currently on.
So you can rotate one tile.
Ooh, that's interesting. And then on table, switch the location of the world you're currently on with any other world, keeping orientations the same. Costs 2 grit. It's expensive, 2 grit to use it.
Yeah, well, but my grit resets every day on its own, so I don't have to manage it as closely.
Gotcha.
So that's why I never ran into a scenario where I had to sacrifice my health, because I had 5 every day. So I never had to push myself beyond that 5 because we didn't get super hairy.
So I can imagine if we were trying to control where something was on the board, that would be really...
So like the one where it's saying that guy's trying to get to the dojo.
That would be an amazing ability.
So
for that.
He gets close. All I can do...
Nope.
Dojo's over here now. What? But... Oh...
So what we're talking about with the World Shift cards, if you guys didn't see the playthrough, if you're unfamiliar, the World Shift cards
switch to the board game real quick, TP?
These cards that you draw at the end of every dusk phase, and they've all got a theme about what's going on. They give you, a perk with the energy, but then the board's modular. So it starts off with the dojo in the center of the board, but then it will say something.
I don't know if I'm doing the right one.
You're not, but it's fine. So it's switch the location of Oppenheim and the dojo. So all of a sudden, this one back here, this is Oppenheim, and the dojo over here would fly across the board and switch places with each other, keeping the orientation the same, but...
And all the tokens and cards and players on it
get transported. So now all of a sudden you might find yourself in range of a bunch of enemies that are going to beat the crap out of you, or you might find yourself on the opposite end of the map of the boss that you're going for, or vice versa. Yeah. Like, it could be very beneficial, it could be very negative, it could have no consequence whatsoever, but it's a nice little element of randomization that goes into play. And then another randomized thing that's going on, so at the dawn phase, you have the top card from each one of these decks coming into play, whether it be monster or event.
Yeah.
The dusk phase starts out with you draw, and this is dependent on the number of players. You're going to draw dusk cards, and some of them...
Most of them are monsters. Like, there's a couple of rifts in there, which are just challenges, and they're beneficial, basically.
Solely beneficial challenges, but the dusk cards are randomly placed on the board by the die rolling mechanic.
Yeah.
That's in the game.
You know what would be interesting if we lost the center tile?
That would be... Oh, man. I didn't even think about that.
And you couldn't go through there. You had
to
go through
the center. You had to go all the way around. That would have been...
Awful.
Awful.
But yeah, so the board changes around a lot, and a lot of random stuff is not a lot, but a good amount of random stuff is happening. So you can't just strategically plan every single step out.
Yeah. But you get a lot of information. So you can see on top of the deck if it's a monster or an event.
For the most part, I like that there's random monsters in the event.
Yeah, this is a random monsters event. So this card right here, actually, it says event, but it is a...
It's a Tiger Kitty.
It's Tiger Kitty. So you jump on it, and it's like, oh no, surprise attack. So...
Keeps you on your toes.
It keeps you on your toes. TV, you switch back over now. But no, there's a lot of different things going on. There's a lot of different things going on, and there's a lot of different mechanics with each character. But overall, it's not that complicated.
No, it's super easy to pick up, and I know that we had the benefit of having Walter explain the game to us, but at the same time, it took us about 3.5 seconds to pick up the gameplay itself.
Something else I liked, and I know Walter doesn't like us showing. So this is a prototype. This is like kind of a little above a print and play. Walter cut out all these cards and stuff, so they're not prettiest,
perfect, and some of them's not the final stuff going on here.
But
there are player bonuses based upon turn order.
Yes.
So first players, you don't need anything to help you. That's fine. Yeah. Second player, 1 health and 1 spirit. Third player, +1 damage. Fourth player, we didn't get to play with because, well, we didn't have a fourth player today. But once per day, you may choose to gain a Dreamstone, and then you may look at the top card of any world deck, and you could use the Dreamstones for multiple things throughout the game. So, again, a lot of stuff going on. And then one final thing I'd like to point out here is that the minis are absolutely gorgeous. These aren't even the final ones because these are 3D printed prototypes for it. The actual final ones are going to be cast resin, but they are, and so these are just absolutely gorgeous. So big kudos to that. This is just great work to that, and the texture on them is awesome as well. So anything else you guys want to talk about for the what you liked about it section before we go into criticisms?
I think we covered a lot of
this. We covered a lot.
Might be covered in it. Josh, how is the coloring on it?
Oh yeah, I know people in chat were asking colors. Colors was actually very, very easy for me. Maybe my only critique is the gold is very close to the green for me.
Okay.
It's not used much, and it has its own symbol, so it's not a big deal.
I don't know if this is because this is not the final art on this card, or if this is up for change, but the actual energy tracker, it's just the 3 colors. Granted, this one on the right is green. It is washed out because it's on a green screen. But
it does say the names of the colors. Actually.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
Okay, so it says the names of the colors on the bottom there. Green, red, blue. So nix that. Never mind. I was expecting the symbol to be the same.
So here, that's where the 2 symbols are, and they kind of look...
So let me show that in
show that in chat.
So that's actually the green and the blue have very similar symbols.
A little bit.
The gold has like the neutron look to it.
Just the gold and the green coloring is very close for me, but it's not. It doesn't come up, and I even think everything's that like the rift here. It says Golden Rift.
Yeah, the rifts are all named. So Golden Rift for this one. You've got and I apologize again for the color, but the minor green rift here. Yep. It's not the minor see-through rift. It's the green rift.
So, like, that was the only thing slightly color-wise, but otherwise everything has its own icons and everything, and it's pretty laid out easily. There is a separate color for each world, and the Oakmoor and the Bayou.
Yeah.
I can't really tell that well.
So, again, the green and the gold. It's the same
It's the green and the gold. But they both have their own symbol.
And it has the names on them.
And that's the names on them. So, like, I actually, it was easier for me to look for symbols than colors. Every time we rolled the dice, it was like, oh, that's a mushroom. Where's the mushroom? I wasn't looking at the color. I was looking at the...
And the symbology is pretty defined. Like, it's pretty easy to tell what the symbols are.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's everything.
Okay.
For what we like, right?
So, going into criticisms, is there anything about this game that... you didn't care for, but, how would you change it if you had the opportunity to?
So, we had the advantage of having this... Go there. That's the dojo.
It's upside down.
It's upside down. Oops. And the art is very pretty.
Yes.
But it's also very dark. We happen to have the old art, which is actually the same art, but just a different look. It's much more brighter and vivid. Oh my god, that's green screen horribly now.
Let me see. Oh.
It's the same. It's the exact same. If you look on the other side, it's the exact same art. It's just
less muted.
It's less muted.
So here, this is probably a better example. There's less green here, but so you have the Orechi wastes.
Yeah.
And then you flip it over,
and you can actually see what's going on the board where you can't really see it. And I feel like it's a slight shame to cover the art up so much.
I understand what you're going for, and it takes away some of the color theming that's built into the actual pictures themselves.
Yeah.
Just not sure if that was like maybe the game got a little busy with it when you're.
I can see it being a little busy. I might just say tone down the dark just a tad bit. Like I like the nice. I do like the muted look. I just unless I pick this up and look at it when it's on the table, I can't really see anything. Like
right,
so I can't see what's really over there. Yeah, something more in the middle.
I can tell that there's drawing on it from across the table. I can't tell what it is.
Yes. So I mean, it's not like a huge. No, it's just it is really pretty.
Yeah.
The one thing about it's got that comic book style art.
Yeah.
Like throughout the whole, like really.
So the colors were really popping out.
Yeah, the colors are really popping and stuff, and just looking like this, it just kind of loses that a little bit. But everything else has the bright art on it, so it's not a big nitpick. It's just one little thing that. The only reason I really like, I actually got to see the other side because he used the old boards he had for this was the original art they used for the first Kickstarter, I believe.
So going into something that I'm going to critique a little bit here is while I really did love the world shift mechanic, I thought that was a great way to kind of change up the board and randomize things. When you have the deck of 20 or so cards sitting on the board and like 4 tiles around the perimeter and 2 characters and a few tokens, physically like getting your grubby paws underneath the board and picking it up and moving it around, stuff was constantly like shifting around.
Yeah.
So that might be resolved once everything moves to a thicker card stock for the final version, but at the same time,
I think you get thicker also having boards that are cut correctly, so they're not.
Again, this is a prototype. This was cut by hand.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like once it might work a little bit better, but yeah, I see that mechanic.
It was a little.
It's a little cumbersome, but it's still a really cool mechanic.
I love the mechanic. I don't know how I would increase or better the execution of it, but I wouldn't want to eliminate that.
You'd have to make them different sizes. Is all you do. So you make these cards slightly smaller, and you cut at a recess. So that they actually set in there once you put them in there.
That would probably add cost, but yeah, that would be awesome if you had the recesses like a well for it to go in.
You'd still have the pieces, but then at least all the cards would stay put.
Yeah.
And you're only worried about 1 or 2 player characters or the boss or something like that instead of 4 cards.
Yeah, I think that would be really awesome. I feel like some of the equipment that I had, specifically just this one, the Trojan's Jar, was too good. So this was at the beginning of each turn. I get 2 health and 1 spirit.
That was the stupid thing that Josh summoned, wasn't it?
No, that was the old man on the healing alpaca.
The healing alpaca. Who was tough?
He was, but I beat the crap out of him.
He was, 7? That was the highest one that we saw, right?
Well, even the big bad was 7 as well.
Well, Hydra was at 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this...
But 7 is...
It's a lot for one player to do in one round, especially at the beginning. And maybe after you've unlocked some of your cards, it might become more simpler to do. But at the beginning, that's a lot of damage.
And I think maybe late game, you'll be taking a lot more damage, so it's not...
It's just that I had that. I also had this oak armament equipment that allowed me to ignore 2 damage 3 times.
You also just ran around the board and farmed and everything.
And I also had my shield ability that I never even cast on myself. I just cast on you. So I could have been like super tanky. Yeah.
No, you were playing the burst attack character, so when you had your attacks up, you're just like, I'm just gonna...
Oh, I'm gonna destroy things.
Yeah. So...
I felt like the items were on a little bit of the OP side. So...
The thing is, for me to kill that guy, I would have been able to kill him like on round 4.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to kill him such an early round.
That's true.
So I think
maybe that's the reward there is having to do it late in the game.
Right. So getting 2 rounds of +2 health instead of 5 rounds of +2 health.
Yeah.
It's not as drastic.
Especially when there's more stuff on the board attacking you and doing things.
So how about you, Aaron? What criticisms do you have?
Well, I was super jelly of all the items that you got. So that was actually one of the things is I would have liked to see or and maybe it was some of the stuff that I fought and stuff like that. So maybe in the future I might make different choices. But I enjoyed seeing the items, and I would have loved to have gotten more of them.
Yeah, I thought all the items were awesome, and what they all had a nice theme to them. And they all had nice abilities on them, and it was a very large differential of abilities for sure.
And there's
the other thing I was thinking, and I don't, and this may have been because it was the first time we were playing the game, so this may pan out after more playthroughs, was the dojo. So I didn't see myself going back there because I felt like there was too much stuff going on for me to go and sit back there, because I was never super close to it. So it would have always been, I would have spent most of my turn moving there to get there.
To gain 3 health.
I can see in the PvP scenario, if you all start in the dojo, you're not going to get out very far, and you're going to be attacked, so you're going to keep kind of going in and out.
It's going to kind of be like King of the Hill with the dojo.
And I think the dojo is a safe spot. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, so that may play much differently in the PvP aspect then. But I had a hard time justifying, at least in the co-op version, of going back there.
Yeah, I don't think any of us went back there for a turn.
No.
It wasn't worth it. One other nitpicky thing, and this is just hex cards are just... I know this is a prototype, but oddly shaped cards are a pain in the butt to shuffle.
And this is a game where it's telling you, shuffle these cards together.
Yes.
And there's a large quantity of them. It's not like you're shuffling.
It's not one deck. And it's not one deck. It's...
Yeah, there's 6 decks, 7 decks, 6 decks. No, because then there's the Dusk deck. And the World Shift deck.
There's 9 different decks.
Yeah.
So... and yes, the dojo is a safe spot. So
there you go. So that would probably act a lot differently in the PvP.
But that's just a personal pet peeve. And I think when the cards are actual thickness, it'd probably be better. But I know in general, shuffling Weird Science cards are just a little bit of a pain.
Right, but shuffling cardstock or cardboard in a pile is much easier than cards, because you don't have to worry about like banging them against each other.
Yeah. Right.
But that's a minor nitpicky thing.
And we can't speak to all of the tokens just because, again, we got the prototype version, so we got all the prototype tokens, bits and pieces of different games, so we won't delve into that part of it.
Yeah. I do like the world die. That was just our kind of... I'm just like looking at what else there was.
The random mechanic of that, of assigning where stuff goes and stuff like that, and then
also
using them for the...
Yeah.
So it was nice to have one thing that served multiple purposes, because sometimes you can get so many components that keeping track of everything becomes cumbersome.
I dislike heavily one-time use components that are super specific to one thing that you're going to do one time in a game. And
the other thing you mentioned with moving things, I probably would have liked the Dust Dawn counter on its own card or something, just because this is the easiest thing to shift when you're picking it up.
Oh yeah, and the dojo
you're always moving the dojo.
Yeah, every round you're moving.
Yeah. And so that's just the one.
So kind of like the round counter in the Apocalypse or something like that, where you have its own little card that you're moving.
Yeah, it could have just been this little card that we could have moved or something like that's. It's just because we're always picking up this piece, and if it gets knocked off, we'll probably remember where it was. It's just one less thing to move off. But no, I do know Walter was saying the player mats are going to be cardboard, but with the inserts, so the like cubes lock into place, kind of.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which would be really cool.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And yeah, we don't know the other tokens yet, really, but no.
All right. So, is there anything else that either of you want to touch on specifically before we get into the most important question of the evening?
Don't think so.
Josh.
I
think we covered everything pretty good there. So again, time to ask, most important question of the evening, would you play it again? Let's start all the way down there. Aaron, how about you?
I certainly would. I love the difference of all the abilities. So more playthroughs with getting to experience more of them, even with the same character. So let alone with 10 other or 9 other characters that I would potentially have the option to. That adds a lot of figuring out mechanically each character. So like from a personal challenge perspective, I see.
So, and also kind of handcuffed you with which abilities that you were able to put into your deck. So I'm sure that you're like, oh, maybe next time I want to try with this ability and see what I could do next.
See how this works, or see, depending on the scenario we're in, would definitely change which ones I chose the more I got experience.
You know what I'm excited seeing once we start getting it more and doing the combos.
Right, getting better at playing off each other.
Yeah, that's one thing we didn't do was give other people activations to do combos.
We did it a handful of times, but yeah, no.
We did it like once or twice in the beginning just because we're like, we don't... Like,
no. You two did it to help each other out. I lone wolf the hell out of it. I'm not going to lie. I was a jerk.
But I can see that being a really... Like, when it gets really difficult, figuring that stuff out would be...
Well, especially when you have glass cannons and more defensive characters synergizing together and stuff like that. So, Josh, how about you? Question of the evening.
Would definitely play this again. This actually makes me think a lot of the Approaching Dawn Witching Hour. Because it has all the unique characters with their own abilities and everything.
The double-sided cards.
It does have the double-sided... But it's that co-op game with a more difficult side to it. It made me think of that, and like I had a lot of fun playing that, and I had a lot of fun playing this, and it had a very similar overall feeling. Like the gameplays are completely different. Like they're completely different games.
I can see where you pick up the vibe for sure, though.
Two co-ops are just how they are very, very similar overall.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely play this again.
For me, yeah, absolutely. I really love this game. I like co-ops a lot. You know that because you're the person I play co-op games with. We synergize really well together most of the time in co-op games.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't worried about losing to it. Like, like if we pick up the mechanics, Aaron's very good at it too. Yeah. So like the three of us just like
Aaron's super sneaky about it because he won't let on. And then all of a sudden he'll unleash this combo of I'm gonna just beat the crap out of everything.
Because it's usually I don't play as often as you do, so I don't pick up as quickly. Yeah. So it's usually round 2 or 3 where all of a sudden like the gears are spinning around and something finally settles into place, and I'm like, oh, this is how this goes.
I love it when I'm playing together.
But
I really love all the random elements to this, the not so random elements to this, but most importantly, I love unique character abilities, and this again cranked the dial up to 11. So big thumbs up for me. I really enjoyed this game a lot. So anything else that you gentlemen want to say before we sign off for the evening?
I had a lot of fun.
And big shout out and thank you to Walter from Greenbrier Games for sending this over, playing with us, showing us the rules, and having a fun time with it. So, I think it's time for us to sign off for the evening. So, soft sign off, and then we'll get into all the goodies of what's going on in the future. So, we would like to say that this stream and all of this week's streams are sponsored by Champions of Hara by Greenbrier Games, as well as Legend of Korra Pro Bending Arena by IDW. So big shout out to both of those games. We really did appreciate it. If you haven't had a chance, go check out the spotlights, the spotlight playthrough sessions for both of those games. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Twist Gaming signing off. I'm Matt.
I'm Josh.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm the disembodied voice of TP.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.